All right, back with another, back with part two of our deity description video about the goddess Zarpanitu, who's the divine consort of the great god Marduk of Babylon. There's an ancient Babylonian goddess here. Um, Marduk, one of my favorite deities, and Zarpanitu is a really fascinating goddess herself. A little bit mysterious she is, but let's see what else we can find about her. Um, as I want to get back into being a devotee of the god Marduk, but I want to include Zarpanitu as well with that, since that is his consort, divine consort. I'd like to honor them together, um, and not just Marduk. But I'll make a separate video on that, like who my patron deities are, which ones are like long time patron deities. Um, that will be for a separate video, because I'm just now recently getting back into a Babylonian polytheistic path, but there's certain deities that are like long time patron deities of mine, and like I said, which I'll go over in a separate video. Um, so let's see, where did we end off? We ended off, well, okay. Okay, I found it. Okay. So this is part two. Um, there should only be this should only be the this should be the last part. So there'll be two parts. Um, so in Assyria, Zarpanitu could be identified with the goddess Shurua. Um, that sounds suspiciously like Irua, which is another one of Zarpanitu's names. Are they similar? Let me see here real quick. So, there's quite a bit on that too. Okay, interesting. Well, so Zarpanitu could be identified with Shirua, which reflected the syncretism between their respective spouses, Marduk and Ashur. Um, but Ashur's spouse I thought was Mulishu or Ninlo. Um, is that like another name for her or something? Something? I'll have to. We'll go over it in a separate video. Because I know of the god Ashur, that's the patron god of Assyria. His consort is, from my understanding, Mulishu or Ninlil. Um, okay. First documented under Sennacherib, and was further facilitated by the phonetic similarity between the name of the Assyrian goddess and the secondary name Erua. Wow, I was right. Um, yeah, I mean, okay. Well, oh, okay, I see. Through the 8th and 7th centuries BC, attempts have been made to subordinate the local theology of Uruk to Babylon, with Babylonian rulers aiming to assimilate both Ishtar of Babylon and Ishtar of Uruk with Zarpanitu. Okay, so in the previous video, part 1, I recalled there being some sort of connection with Ishtar and Zarpanitu. This, I think, might have been where that came from. But I'm sure there's even more to it. Aiming to assimilate both Ishtar of Babylon and Ishtar of Uruk with Zarpanitu. I wonder how far it went. Paul Elaine Belio notes that in the Iana archive from Uruk, in texts from between the reigns of Marduk Apla Adina II and Nabopolassar, the title Beltia, which typically designated Zarpanitu, is instead used in contexts which indicate Ishtar was meant. He suggests the attempts to syncretize the two to reassert the supremacy of Babylon over Uruk might have originally started in the 8th century BC. As some accounts of Nabu Shuma Ishkan's reign indicate that the image of Ishtar was removed from Iana and replaced by a different goddess, deemed improper by the chroniclers, with the original only restored in the 6th century BC by Nebuchadnezzar II. It is possible that some of the syncretic efforts relied on confusion, which could be caused by the use of Ishtar's name as a generic term for goddesses, known, for example, from tablet 11 of the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's another great epic. Legendary king of Uruk, of course. As well as the use of the logogram referring to the Sumerian form of the name Inanna to spell the generic title Beltu. In later sources from Babylon, Zarpanitu and Ishtar of Babylon appear as two separate deities in distinct roles. For example, in a text dealing with the relationship between Marduk and Zarpanitu, referred to as love lyrics, Ishtar of Babylon plays the role of a paramour. However, there is no evidence that the relationship between Zarpanitu, Marduk, and Ishtar of Uruk was imagined similarly in Neo-Babylonian Uruk. Okay. Zarpanitu was presumably originally venerated in Zarpan, a town located in the immediate proximity of Babylon, though she is much better attested than the settlement itself. It is known from a Neo-Babylonian or later fragment of a topographical text from Sipar, which mentions its city gates, as well as from a fragmentary myth confirming its association with Zarpanitu. Babylon also served as her cult center, and she was worshipped in this city in the Isagil temple complex dedicated to Marduk, in a cella known under the ceremonial names Idara Ana, which means House of the Ibex of Heaven, or Ihili Gar, which means house endowed with luxuriance. Um, her seat inside it was known as the Ihalanki, okay, or the Ehalanki, House of the Secrets of Heaven and the Netherworld. Wow. Hmm. The oldest reference to Zarpanitu, which can be dated with certainty, occurs in the 24th year name of Sumu Lael. So the oldest reference, that would be the 19th century BC. Because he was a king of the first dynasty of Babylon. It commemorated the fashioning of a statue representing her. Another early reference to her can be found in the 19th year name of Samsu Iluna. It's 18th. Which mentions the construction of thrones for her and Marduk. So see, they were known that far back. An inscription dealing with this preparation of a cultic object dated to the reign of either Samsu Iluna or Hammurabi, which mentions Zarpanitu, Marduk, and Isagil, is also known from a copy discovered in Nippur. And according to Douglas Frayne, it can be assumed that it pertains to the same event. Many additional references to Zarpanitu occur in letters from the Old Babylonian period, where she is one of the most commonly referenced goddesses, next to Ishtar, Anunitum, Ninsiana, Gula, and Aya, or Aya, the consort of the sun god Shamash. Aya is. Is it Aya or Aya? Okay. In a new year, or a Akitu ritual from Babylon, presumed to precede the rise of Marduk to the position of the head of the pantheon under Nebuchadnezzar I. Zarpanitu is listed as one of the deities present during the celebrations, alongside Marduk, Nabu, Nenaya, Sutitu, Zababa, Bau, Nergal, Lash, and Memitim. So, one of the inscriptions of Sargon II, commemorating his participation in the Akitu festival in the same location, mentions Zarpanitu among the recipients of gifts provided by him. A list of deities worshipped in Ashur indicates that Zarpanitu was one of the 19 deities who were believed to reside in the temple of Gula in this city. It's the goddess Gula. She's like a goddess of medicine, healing. With a variant which instead places Anunitum in her position, being considered an ancient scribal error, as the sequence of deities also contains Ea, his wife Damkina, and Marduk. Theophoric names invoking Zarpanitu are known from sources from the Neo-Babylonian period, though for the most part only women bore them, in contrast with names invoking many other goddesses, for example, Bau, Gula, Ishtar, Nenaya, or Ningal, which are attested for men too. Only two exceptions are known, Ardi Sharpanitu and Ardi Erua, both of which are masculine theophoric names invoking her under respectively her primary name and an epithet. They are regarded as atypical, yeah. So outside of Mesopotamia, there's a corpus of Ugaritic texts. That's pretty far away. Zarpanitu is mentioned in an incantation against the demon Lamashtu, which pairs her with Marduk and invokes them in parallel with the deities Anu and Antu, Enlil and Ninlil, Ea and Damkina, and Papsukal. That's the divine vizier or messenger of the gods, and Amasagnudi, or Amasagnudi. I've never heard of that deity, I don't think. It's a goddess. She's regarded as a servant of Anu. Oh, and the wife of Papsukal. Oh, okay. She's only known from a handful of sources. Yeah, I don't recall that name, seeing that name. It is one of the 12 examples of texts from this site written in standard cuneiform, which are assumed to be patterned after similar Mesopotamian compositions. Direct parallels to individual passages have been identified in the corpus of Mesopotamian incantations against Lamashtu. In Emar, the Syrian city of Emar, Zarpanitu is attested exclusively in colophons. Okay. So nowhere else then? Outside of Mesopotamia? Not anywhere in Syria? Not anywhere like else? I don't know. I kind of find that hard to believe. Now let's see what it says under mythology, and then we'll wrap it up. But in literary texts, Zarpanitu typically appears alongside Marduk. A short myth focused on Zarpanitu describes how the town Zarpan was named after her and then gifted to her by Enlil, here identified as her father. Afterwards, Ea praises her virtues and suggests... when was this myth... I wonder when this myth was... what era... when this myth was... dated to. Afterwards, Ea praises her virtues and suggests to his son Marduk that she would be suitable for him, and that they should rule over the sea together. It has been suggested that the name Ninabdubur, Lady of the Sea Foundation, which is attributed to her in god lists, might reflect this section of the myth. Zarpanitu is also referenced in the text Ludlul Bel Nemeki. That's known in English as the Poem of the Righteous Sufferer, where the protagonist prays to her at the Kahilisu, which means gate sprinkled with luxuriance, presumably the gate of her cella in Isagil. Andrew George points out that it is also attested in inscriptions of Ashurbanipal and Nebuchadnezzar II. So we're almost done here. Takayoshi Oshima suggests that in a Neo-Assyrian myth focused on Marduk, the name Damkiana, normally considered to be a variant form of the goddess Damkina, the wife of Ea, or Enki, is instead used to refer to Zarpanitu, in parallel with a late prayer attesting a similar situation. A different interpretation has been suggested by Lambert, who assumed that she is to be understood as Damkina in this context, and based on the unusual character of the text, proposed that it originated in Malgium, where this goddess was commonly acknowledged in royal inscriptions. Okay. In the Kassite period. Okay. The narrative deals with a conflict between Marduk and his allies and the gods of Nippur, led by Enlil. Oh. Which is ultimately decided in favor of the former by the intervention of Damkiana, though it is not certain what it entailed. Well, I'm guessing because Damkina is, the mother of Marduk, so... Even though she's called Damkiana here, but it's too similar, I think. So I don't think it is Zarpanitu in that text, but I guess I'll just go with Damkina as the more plausible identity for Damkiana in that text. So we are finished here, I think, with our deity description here for Zarpanitu. Is there more mythology for Zarpanitu out there? That's not very much. But at least there's some, so that's good. All right, so that is the divine consort of the great god of Babylon, Marduk, the queen goddess of Babylon, Zarpanitu. And as always, definitely would like to hear some thoughts and comments below about everything included in the video, and about the goddess Zarpanitu and the god Marduk and Babylonian religion, polytheism. Trying to find others on here who are interested in all of that. And definitely the devotees of Marduk and Zarpanitu. So, yeah, hope you find these videos interesting, if you're still with me. And I will be back with more deity description videos here soon.